Hello and welcome to the CDO magazine interview series. I'm Denise Collison with SHI International, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT, CDOIQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Ken Pfeil, Chief Data Officer of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Hi, Ken.
Hello, everyone.
Well, I'm just wondering, so you're developing a strategy. How do you develop a strategy that has real impact on the business outcome? How do you stay focused on that with all the noise that you have to also work through? Any advice on that?
You can do it one of two ways. You can either do it from a top-down perspective, and in this case, the governor directives, right? And they're very simple in our case, right? Make Virginia the best place to live, work, and raise a family. Okay, well, that's very broad. Every agency is working, towards that, but they have specific achievable goals that underpin those.
Yeah.
And trying to get those out of agencies. And as well as localities, and get them communicating with one another to help one another solve that business outcome as well. It's not just my office that works on solving these business outcomes. We facilitate the data sharing and our data trust, but we also facilitate in a lot of cases communication as well as the governance aspects that allow them to do things a little bit more quickly.
Got it. So just to get down into the nitty gritty a little bit more, can you talk about any tools or processes that you believe are critical to a data strategy? Is there anything that is just, you can't do it without these things?
I would say, one, you have to have a problem to solve, first off, and you have to have a firm understanding of what that problem is, right? So valid use cases are definitely in the mix. You've got to have ways to perform the analytics. Once you've got that, you've got to, you obviously have to have the data. You have to have the people to do it. But then from a governance perspective, you've got to be able to have everything very well documented, repeatable, and able to be done again at a moment's notice.
Yeah. Well, those are important ones. So thank you for sharing those. It feels like a lot. You just said it in such a short amount of time, but that is a lot of things that are critical to the strategy.
And there are many, moving components and that go along with those. So, I mean, even from, just speaking from the people perspective, right? You have to have the right core competencies. You have to have the right roles. You have to have the right fit and the right acumen. I mean, I'm probably not going to send my data scientist out, in place of a business analyst, to kind of do some discovery, because there's that business translation that's missing. And so you rely on, your business analyst to pull that out of a particular agency or locality or whatever the case may be, and then present that in a way that your data engineers and your data scientists can make sense of.
Yeah. All right. So let's shift a little bit. One of the things that I note when I read articles, research, whatever it might be, is that organizations seem to make decisions based in hindsight. They're using data, but they're making decisions based on data that happened already, and they're, it's in hindsight. So how important is it for organizations to start using data to make decisions with foresight? And how do you start moving towards that goal?
Well, first, you've got to understand what data that you've got and why you have it. That's the whole point of the hindsight, right? The hindsight is generally the reports of, what happened over the last fiscal year, then they have a tendency to be, monetary and just reflective in nature. Moving to a more predictive model, which is more beneficial to more people, is obviously more beneficial. And the way that you're going to get there is, one, understand what your business outcomes are, what you're trying to solve the problem for, and also, what you're going to do when your data hits a particular point. All right. Mm-hmm. You're going to have this juncture point of, all right, this is expected or this is unexpected. This is in support of a business outcome. This is not, the data does not support, this particular business outcome. Now, how do we change things or change processes or change the way that we're doing things at an agency level or otherwise in order to hit that predicted curve and keep it, keep things moving in the forward direction. And I think the more machine language and AI and predictive analytics come into play, and the easier it gets, to deploy, and the more mature the technology gets, I think you're going to see, many more businesses, lining up to say, what if we did that? And we're doing that from a Commonwealth perspective. We're looking at things already. We're building towards it, but we are looking at end goals of, for example, predictive health decline, right? How do you get services to a constituent, before they require it? But we have this predictive model that says they're going to need these services at this particular time. All right. Do we make them go to 100 different websites and fill out this, or, no, we have someone that's able at that point to reach out and do it and get them the services that they need before they hit that, that drop point.
And potentially in conjunction with something else they're already interacting with the Commonwealth. So it's just like, oh, you're here, by the way, do this too. Yeah, I think
it's an extension, definitely. And so there are many different applications, for something like that. And, we're uncovering them. But we're also helping our agencies, think through a little bit.
How they can do that too. So first of all, it's super fascinating to hear that specific example about like predictive healthcare. I love that. And I would imagine all the constituents in Virginia are probably like, that sounds great. You're like, that is incredible stuff. So that's exciting. I was listening to a podcast. It was a Brene Brown podcast. She's a researcher. And it was just a couple of months ago. And she said, she was talking about being data-driven. And, that's like the buzzword, right? Data-driven. Yeah. And she was making a comment about how you have to be careful not to get so data-driven that you take the human element out. And so she was wanting to coin the term like data-informed instead of data-driven. So just does that resonate with you? And what are your feelings on that?
Absolutely. Everything that we do, regarding data is essentially for the benefit of the people. And you can't lose sight of that. I mean, it's not just, deploying some cool tool or doing something, that seems really, really fun to do or interesting, or, it's about the betterment of people's lives. And if you look at it from that perspective, you have many different facets. I mean, like you said, we've got 63 agencies, and a lot of those agencies have, a ton of different, business outcomes that are related at the top level, but are very different and very specific and very focused at another level. So how do you draw those conclusions, and how do you help them make better decisions is basically it.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes back to what you said before about making sure you understand the problem that you're trying to solve and then stay focused on that problem. Mm-hmm. But it also really, I think, just makes that point about having the right people, the right human people at the table in the right roles, because you have to take this data and then put that human element, overlay the human element to it appropriately. So I think it just kind of reinforces those points that you made earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. I was, when I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, data informed. That sounds like a better thing than data driven. It just takes the human out completely. It seems like it's all AI, all machine learning, right?
Well, it's for the humans, or it's by the humans and for the humans. So the machine is just the facilitator, I think.
Yeah, that's really cool. Ken, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today. And honestly, I can't wait to see what you do, because I think it's going to be some good things ahead for the constituents there.
Well, thank you, Denise. I really appreciate the time and being able to talk with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you out there, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. And thank you very much.